Hey guys, it's Chelsea. I didn't realize I was recording for the first couple of microseconds. So today I want to talk about this friend that I had that turned out to be a pathological liar. Like hardcore pathological liar. So this was in college and I had a group of friends who were kind of like misfits. We didn't really fit anywhere. Like there were some of us who were athletes in high school, like me, I was a cheerleader. And there was one of them was track and field in college. The rest were just like computer geeks and gamer nerds and just nerds in general who love to read, overachievers, underachievers. We were just a very eclectic mix of people. But we all had one thing in common, and we just didn't fit in anywhere else. So that's how we kind of became friends and got together. We had this one bar that we always went to called Beach House. We shortened it to just beach, so we would say, oh, let's go to beach. And it was owned by one of our friends. So it would always felt like home because everything was so familiar. You know, like we knew her mom, we knew her family, and it was just a really nice place to hang out. And during the day, it wasn't that crowded, obviously, because no one goes to drink at a bar at like 3 p.m., right? So after classes or during our breaks, we would just drop by and kind of just hang out with each other until like we had to go home, basically. And so one day after class, I went to beach and I saw that there was this new girl sitting at our table. And of course introductions were made. Her name, I'm going to name her Lana, because she kind of reminds me of a Lana Del Rey in the sad, like tragic life sense of the, you know, of her personality. And so yeah, I meet Lana and we don't really get to talk that much. We just say like, hi, hello, what's up? And that's pretty much it. As I got to know her, I realized that she was sleeping with one of my other friends, and that's somehow how she got introduced to the group, I believe. I'm not sure if someone else introduced her and then she met him and then they started sleeping together, or he was already sleeping with her and he invited her over. Like, I don't really know how she eventually made her way into the group, but then she did, and that was that, and she was really cool, so, you know, like, no problems, right? So I find out that she's sleeping with one of my other friends, and he wasn't really a friend at the time, he was more of an acquaintance, but nevertheless, I digress. So there were just like things about her, there were things that she would say that kind of made everyone pause and go, huh, that's strange, you know? Like there was one time where she told us this story about how there was this family heirloom of like a necklace with the bones of one of her ancestors, and her family members were so competitive as to who got it, like who inherited it, that this one person like burnt their house down with the heirloom in it or something like that. And we were just like, that's really strange. And she said stuff about, like, she introduced herself as someone who was from Australia. She grew up there or something. And when she found out I was half Korean, she said, oh, I'm part Korean too. My mom is part Korean. And I'm like, oh, what's her name? Like, what's her last name? And she said something generic, like Lee or something. And I was like, okay, I mean, I had no reason to not believe her at that time, you know? Like, she didn't look Korean at all, but I knew a lot of people who had mixes in them, and it did not show up at all after a couple generations, you know? Or even, like, one generation. So I was like, just whatever. And I asked her, why don't you have an Australian accent? And she said, oh, it was because I took speech lessons because no one could understand me when I first got here. And I said, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. I can understand how it would be difficult for someone with an Australian accent to navigate within the Philippines. And again, I went to college in the Philippines. So I asked her, can you like revert back to your Australian accent at will? And she said, yeah, sure. And she says something with an Australian accent, and everyone within earshot was just like, that doesn't really sound like an Australian accent. I had an ex who was Australian, and he did not talk like that. One of my other friends, he studied in Australia for a while, and he was pretty sure that no, people in Australia do not talk like that. It sounds very phony, so to speak. So there were other things too, like she would say stuff like, oh, she can't really go out of the house, or she has such controlling parents because she has her own house, first of all. She lives alone, and there are CCTV cameras all over the place, supposedly. So she would she would say stuff like, oh, I had to like do something on the computer to pause the video so it looks like it's recording, but it's not, so I could sneak out of the house. And we were like, oh my god, that's so terrible, I can't believe your parents are that crazy, blah blah blah. And yeah, we just kind of felt sorry for her. And there was always something off about her. I feel like it was her prescription drug problem or whatever. And the guys she would sleep with on the side, because she wasn't like exclusively sleeping with that one friend, they were like in high school. And I forget how old she was, but we were like all of us were 18, 17 at the time. And the thing is, in the Philippines, like, you go to college early. You skip a couple of grades and you go to college early. So like high schoolers are like 16 years old, 15 years old. So she slept with this French guy who was underage. And I feel like this video is kind of getting inappropriate and I might get someone arrested. But, I mean, no one really watches my channel anyway, so whatever. I do this for fun. So, and there was also this one time when she talked about how her dad was getting her the newest iPhone, the latest iPhone. I think at the time it was a 6, the iPhone 6 or something like that, 5S, I'm not sure. I wasn't really into iPhones at the time. I have an iPhone now, but I did it before. And she said that she had this regular Android phone in the meantime while she waited for her new iPhone to get diamonds like embedded on the back to spell out her name. And I was like, wow, that's kind of excessive, isn't it? Like, I was just, at this point, I didn't believe or disbelieve anything she said. I just kind of like accepted the information and just didn't do anything with it in my mind. I just it went in one ear, went out the other. I just didn't really care. I wasn't really like close with her or anything like that much anyway. And yeah, it was just weird. And she had this habit of showing people that she had an eating disorder. She would say stuff like, oh, did you know that I have bulimia? And she would raise up her shirt, visibly suck her stomach in so she looks emaciated, and say, there you go, I have an eating disorder. And at that point, I was like more worried and concerned about her. Wait, someone's calling me. So yeah, my friend just called me. We're going to meet today for some coffee, and she's gonna take me to my clinic to get my meds because I have depression. Anyway, so I forgot what I was saying, but oh my goodness, I don't remember what I was saying. I have to play it back and get back to you, or I could just continue with another story that she told us. So she started copying the mannerisms of the guy she was sleeping with, as in she started to talk like him. Like, he talks like, for lack of a better term, like a black guy. Like, not in any way, but like just his inflections and just like, because he raps as well, so he has that like kind of aggressive, just really, but chill. I don't know how to describe it, but like really deep, and he has a really deep voice as well. So she made her voice really deep to kind of mimic him. It was just crazy. Oh wait, was I talking about the CCTV cameras and the iPhone with the, you know, the diamonds on the back, whatever, anyway. So, oh, and here's the thing, I think this is the moment where everyone started doubting what she was saying, because before this, we were kind of like on the fence about whether or not she was telling the truth, but there was this time where two of my friends were talking about this Harry Potter fan fiction called The Life and Times, and she jumped up and said, "Oh, I wrote it." And everyone was like, "Oh my god, seriously? You wrote it? You're Jules? Like, that's crazy, you're Jewel 5, oh my god." And it quickly occurred to us that, wait, this can't be it. She couldn't have written it, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, we were talking about it and all of a sudden, she just says that she wrote it. And we kind of found it a little bit unbelievable, because it was unbelievable, and yeah, it was weird. Okay, and there was this other time where she told me about the story how someone took a video of her 69ing a guy at this music festival, at like a concert or something, and she said, "Oh my god, I have to like get my lawyers on this, because if that video gets out, it's going to hurt my chances if I decide to run for office." And I was like, huh? You could barely pass your classes. What do you mean you're gonna run for office? Like, this girl was fucking crazy. Like, Jesus Christ. And and later on we didn't see her for like a month straight, and it's not like we missed her, but we just found her presence kind of like, you know, we don't have any interesting stories to be told today, you know. And we found out that she was using her tuition money to go so she went to a really good school. The way it was set up was there were 3 schools in the area. I went to one of them. She went to like pretty much the best school of the 3, and it was really expensive. So she was using her tuition money for that school to do drugs, and everyone was like, don't get me wrong, it's not like we didn't do drugs or anything. We smoked the occasional joint, you know, like, oh no, the joint is going to kill me now. Inside joke, huh, if you're from the Philippines. But, you're spending money for your education on drugs and other stuff to go shopping and stuff. What? Like, how irresponsible could one person be that they took their hard-working parents' money that was for her future and used it to spend on stupid shit like drugs? We just used our allowance money. We used like the money our parents gave us for lunch, and then they just skipped lunch, and then just like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, that was like the final straw. She had to drop, obviously, she wasn't even enrolled. Her parents forced her to go to this other school that was really far away, and after that, we didn't really hear from her. Yeah, but she was just such a pathological liar, and honestly, we just kind of felt bad for her. I guess it was because we were such a diverse group. Like, a lot of us were half something. A lot of us grew up in another country that wasn't the Philippines. A lot of us spoke multiple languages aside from Tagalog and English. And I think that she just wanted to fit in with us. She wanted to lie about where she was from to make herself look interesting, because, I mean, there's nothing wrong with spending your entire life in one country. I mean, it's not like it's up to you, you know, it's like your parents. It just so happened that our parents, you know, moved around a lot. We're not from here, blah, blah. But she just wanted to be accepted, I guess, and we would have completely accepted her for who she was anyway. We were a bunch of misfits, for heaven's sake. She didn't have to we're you know what I mean? It's like so frustrating. But yeah, that's my story of my friend who we're not really friends anymore, who was a pathological liar. It's really sad. Moral of the story, don't lie about who you are to try and fit in with a group of strangers. Like, there's no point. Find your niche. Find that group of people that you fit in with. And if not, then just, like, go solo. Have just, like, a bunch of different friends from different groups. Like, you know what I mean? You don't change yourself for anybody. That's the moral of the story. That's all I have to say. That's my story. Okay. Goodbye, everyone.